This is LSAT Prep Test 134, Section 4, Passage 2. It's about how Mexican American communities use Spanish language proverbs. It's a low difficulty passage, but it still tricks you by being so readable that you stop paying attention to structure. Now, this is a humanities passage. The author is cataloging the different jobs proverbs do in Mexican American life. The main point here is that proverbs serve as both teaching tools for young people and vehicles for preserving cultural identity. You've got to get both halves of that to get the main point question right. Now, the most important paragraph here is paragraph 3. That's where the passage stops being about education and starts being about something bigger. If you coast through it because you feel like it's more of the same, you're going to collapse two different ideas into one, and the test is going to punish you for it. Now, paragraph 1 is just background. You want to skim it. The author defines what a proverb is, traces where these proverbs came from, Spain through Mexico, into Mexican American communities, and it notes that many have European roots. Some even have English equivalents. And so this paragraph exists to establish that proverbs are a deep cross-cultural tradition. None of the hard questions are going to pull from here. You want to get the gist of it and move on. Paragraph 2 is where the argument actually begins. The author starts off with something easy to miss. Each use of a proverb is an individual act. Depends on who's speaking and when they're speaking. But then the author pivots away from the individual and towards the community. Proverbs serve a didactic purpose. That just means a teaching purpose. Parents use them to instruct kids on everything from table manners to how to pick friends. Now, here's what you've got to catch. The author doesn't just say parents teach kids with proverbs and leave it there. There is a reason behind it. The author says parents feel that traditional norms are under threat from the surrounding society. And that anxiety is the engine driving the whole paragraph. Parents aren't quoting proverbs because it's cute. They're doing it because they feel like their values are being crowded out. And that motivation matters. If a question asks you why the author discusses peer group relationships, the answer ties back to this pressure parents feel, not just saying proverbs are educational. That would be too shallow. Now, paragraph 3 shifts to a completely different function. Proverbs aren't about teaching rules, they are about identity. The author says proverbs help Mexican Americans feel connected to their ethnic group in a multi-ethnic world. And then the author does something smart. Even proverbs that don't carry an obvious lesson still matter, because they transmit the Spanish language. They link young people to folklore, and they keep Mexican culture alive. Now, the word even near the top of paragraph 3 is important. It's telling you the author is expanding the argument beyond education. If a proverb doesn't teach anything specific, it still has value, just value of a different kind. And if you miss that expansion, you're going to treat the whole passage as being about one thing when it's really about two. Now, the key move here is the split between paragraphs 2 and 3. Paragraph 2 says proverbs teach behavior. Paragraph 3 says proverbs preserve heritage, and those are two separate claims. The LSAT wants to know if you can hold them apart. Now, the author's stance here is straightforward. They're saying proverbs are valuable, they serve multiple purposes, and there is no debate in this passage, no competing view, no pushback. The author is building a case, not fighting one. Now, the main trap students fall into here is going too narrow. A lot of students will think this passage is about how proverbs educate kids, but that's paragraph 2, it's only half the story. If your main point answer doesn't also cover cultural preservation, it's wrong. The reverse trap is rarer, but still possible, picking an answer that only covers heritage and drops the teaching angle. Now, I want to share one more thing you want to watch for. The passage mentions that many of these proverbs have European origins and English equivalents. That is a detail students sometimes overweight. You don't want to pick an answer that makes the passage about comparing Mexican American proverbs to European ones, because that's background context from paragraph 1. It is not the point. Now, before you hit the questions, you want to make sure you're clear on 3 things. First, what is the difference between what paragraph 2 says proverbs do and what paragraph 3 says they do? Second, why does the author bring up proverbs that don't have an explicit lesson? And third, why does the passage connect proverb use to parents feeling pressure from the larger society?